We have a summit, EU-Canada summit, just before the NATO summit, third week of June. Over 75 cents on every dollar of capital spend for defense goes to the United States. That's not with our major European partners, so that we become defense partners with them. The world is watching a silent breakup, not between lovers, but between countries. And at the center of this storm is Donald Trump. What was once a strong friendship between Canada and the United States is now turning into distance, doubt, and distrust. And the reason is simple. Canada no longer feels safe relying on a partner who behaves like a wildcard. For decades, Canada and the United States were more than just neighbors. They were strong allies. From defense to trade, Canada trusted America like an older sibling. In fact, the connection was so strong that US politicians once joked about making Canada the 51st state. But today, that joke feels like an insult. When Donald Trump returned to power in 2025, his first few months were filled with headlines, drama, and controversial moves. One of them was the suggestion that Canada could become the 51st US state. I think that there are tremendous benefits to the Canadian citizens. Tremendously lower taxes, free military, which honestly we give you essentially anyway, because we're protecting Canada if you ever had a problem. But I think it would really be a wonderful marriage, because it's two places that get along very well. They like each other a lot, a comment that didn't sit well in Ottawa. Canadians saw it as arrogance, and Prime Minister Mark Carney quietly decided enough is enough. America wants our land, our resources, our water, our country. Never, but these are not idle threats. President Trump is trying to break us so that America can own us. In a recent interview, PM Carney made it clear Canada is now thinking differently. The country is shifting its priorities, and it's doing so fast. We need to do much more to secure our borders, to secure our Arctic, to secure Canada. So we're going to need to spend more. We recognize that now we're going to do it in a way that is in the best interest of Canada, with partners on which we can rely get best value for money, but also make more of that investment here in Canada, so we're growing jobs and livelihoods in our own country. You know, these words are strong. Carney is not just talking about defense spending, he's talking about independence. Canada wants to protect itself, yes, but more than that, it wants partners it can trust. And clearly, under Trump, the US no longer feels like one of those partners. Carney then drops a bombshell, a quiet one but a powerful one. For every defense dollar Canada spends, more than 75 cents go to the US. That, he says, is not smart.
Over 75 cents on every dollar of capital spend for defense goes to the United States. That's not smart. What's better if we spend more at home, if we have diversified partnerships? Look, this is a major turning point.
For the first time in many years, Canada is openly talking about breaking economic dependence on the US, not just in trade, but in national defense, something that has been a core part of US-Canada ties for decades. Why now? The answer is Trump. His unpredictability, his America-first attitude, and his habit of making big decisions without listening to allies has pushed Canada to look for new friends, especially in Europe. Carney's message is subtle but clear. Canada no longer wants to be a silent partner in someone else's risky game. It wants control, it wants safety, and most of all, it wants respect. This is the beginning of a global shift. And Donald Trump might be the reason why. Donald Trump has always been known for shocking comments, but sometimes what sounds like a joke to him feels like disrespect to others. One of his most insulting remarks came when he suggested Canada could become the 51st state of America. That single sentence changed the mood in Ottawa. For many Canadians and their new Prime Minister Mark Carney, it was the final proof that Trump doesn't take allies seriously. To call a proud independent nation like Canada the 51st state is not just a bad joke. It's a message. It says, we don't see you as an equal, we see you as ours, That attitude has made Canada nervous. It made them realize they can no longer rely on the US, at least not under Trump's leadership. Carney responded, not with loud words, but with quiet, powerful action. As you know from real estate, there are some places that are never for sale. And having met with the owners of Canada over the course of the campaign last several months, it's not for sale, won't be for sale, ever. In his recent interview, he revealed that Canada is now holding serious talks with European countries. These are not just friendly visits, these are detailed discussions about long-term defense and economic partnerships with nations that behave with responsibility and respect. Part of what's been happening in the last few months, since I became Prime Minister, is a number of conversations of increasing specificity with our major European partners, so that we become defense partners with them. A very big build-out of their defense industrial base, which will have big benefits for jobs here in Canada. This is a big deal. Canada is not just switching military suppliers, it's changing its entire international strategy. Instead of depending on one unpredictable partner, the US, it wants to build strong ties with multiple stable countries. That includes the European Union, a major global power that still believes in teamwork, trust, and treaties. But this shift is not only about defense, it's also about economics. Trump's America First policy has created walls, not bridges. By putting US interests above everything else, he is pushing old friends away. Canada is one of the first to walk and others may follow. Mark Carney made it clear that his government is focusing on people, not politics. His first major move was to help middle-class families. Instead of wasting time with loud speeches or global drama, he delivered something real, tax relief for over 22 million Canadians. We're making great progress on that.
And by Canada Day, we'd like to see something concrete there.
Well, we have a tax cut, middle-class tax cut, and, first item that we put on the table as government following being elected is go straight to affordability. That tax cut for 22 million Canadian taxpayers up to $840 a year for two-income families. So this shows a huge contrast. While Trump threatens trade wars and jokes about annexing neighbours, Carney is quietly working to make life easier for Canadians. He understands that true leadership is about trust, not tweets. In just a few months, the tone of Canada's foreign policy has changed completely. They are no longer waiting for the US to act wisely, they are building their own future with partners who act like grown-ups. This is not just a cold realization, it's a warning to Washington. Respect is earned, not assumed, and under Trump, America is slowly losing that respect from even its closest allies. Canada is no longer waiting for the United States to lead. Under Prime Minister Mark Carney, the country is building a new path forward, and it begins with Europe. While Trump threatens tariffs and pushes allies away, Canada is pulling its new friends closer. And it's all starting to look like the birth of a powerful new alliance. Just weeks before the NATO summit, Canada is hosting a special event, the Why EU-Canada Summit. This isn't just a photo op, it's a sign that Canada and the European Union are becoming true partners in defense, trade, and technology. This partnership could change the global balance of power and leave America behind. We have a summit, EU-Canada Summit, just before the NATO summit, third week of June. At the NATO summit, NATO partners are going to be asked to spend more, to do more, for mutual protection. We're going to participate in that, but part of the way we want to participate in that is with new partners, with European partners. This statement is bold. It shows that Canada is no longer thinking of the US as its only defense partner. While Trump plays political games, Canada is looking at real solutions. Working with Europe means sharing ideas, making smart investments, and building a defense system that actually works without depending on an unreliable neighbor. But the partnership goes beyond military deals. Prime Minister Carney is planning something deeper, helping Canada grow its own defense industry. For years, Canada has sent most of its military dollars to the United States. Now, they want to keep that money at home to create Canadian jobs, Canadian factories, and Canadian security. This is smart economics. Instead of spending billions abroad, Canada will invest in its own future. That means less reliance on US weapons, US technology, and US politics. It's a win for Canadian workers and a message to Washington. We don't need you to succeed. Yes, with the United States. Yes, on our own, in a way that's best for Canada. So look for some agreement and some progress in both of those. These words say it all. Canada is willing to work with the US, but only if it's in Canada's best interest. No more one-sided loyalty. No more begging for approval. Under Carney, Canada is standing tall and choosing its own path forward. Meanwhile, Donald Trump is doing the opposite. Instead of building new alliances, he's threatening old friends. Recently, he warned the EU about possible 50% tariffs, a move that shocked European leaders.